So we're going to continue to look at some equivalent fractions here and the idea of equivalent fractions. So this example here shows that it asks how many 1/2 fractions make up one whole fraction. And so the answer here would be 2. So if we take a look at a picture of that, so we would have two 1/2 pieces. Okay, so a 1/2 piece here and a 1/2 piece here. These two pieces would make up the whole. Okay, so the equation looks like this: 1 equals 1/2 plus 1/2. So how many 1/4 fractions make up a half fraction? Well, the answer for that would be 2, again 2, because we can show that if we chop this up into quarters, we can see that two 1/4 fractions, so one here and one here, would make up that 1/2 fraction. So again, the answer would be 2. And the equation then would look like this. It would be 1/4 plus 1/4, okay, which is 2/4. Okay, so 2/4 and 1/2 must be equivalent fractions. Same here with 2 over 2. 2/2, two parts to 2 parts whole gives us 1 whole. So how many 1/6 fractions make up a 1/2 fraction? Well, if we look at a 1/2 fraction, okay, and we can see that if we divide it up into 1/6 pieces and count those up, we have 1, 2, 3 pieces here to make up that 1/2 fraction. Okay, so we end up with 3 pieces. So it would look like this: 1 over 6 plus 1 over 6 plus 1 over 6. Okay, and that would equal 1/2, or 3 over 6. So 3 over 6 would then represent the equivalent fraction, and we can show the addition like this. And notice that when we add these fractions together, the denominator is staying, it doesn't change, because the size of the pieces really aren't changing here. Okay, so how about 1/8 pieces making up 1/2? So I can split this up into 1/8 pieces and then count up how many 1/2 pieces I need to make, how many 1/8 pieces need to make up 1/2. So I need 4. So, and then it would look like this: 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. And if I take a look at that fraction, that's 4/8. And that's an equivalent fraction to 1/2. And then finally we have 1/6. How many 1/6 pieces make up 2/3? Well, if I draw my 2/3 fraction here, and then I divide it up into 6, well, again, I can count up, just shade it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. That represents 2/3. So again, I can say that 4 pieces make that up. So we end up with 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. Well, we can clearly see that's 4/6, and we know by our proportion, that makes up 2/3, and by proportion, that's the same as 4 over 6. Okay, so there's a few ideas in here. One is this idea of equivalent fractions, the proportioning. Okay, the other is here we're actually adding some fractions together. And when we add fractions together, notice that we can count up the numerator, but since the size of the pieces don't change when I'm adding them up, the denominator stays the same. So for this next part here, you can do what I want you to show me is an equivalent fraction, but again, it's very important that you show me the multiplying factor. So when we go from 10 to 30, okay, if I want to find a multiplier, I divide. So I'm going to divide 30 by 10, I get 3. So my multiplier must be times 3. And if I do times 3 to the bottom, going from left to right, I have to do times 3 to the top, going from left to right. So then I get an equivalent fraction of 9 over 30. So what's really important, I'm just going to highlight it, is you need to show me these multipliers. You also need to show me the direction that you're multiplying. So this one here, some of you can probably guess at what the multiplier is. If you can't, you divide. divide 6 divided by 3. My multiplier is times 2. So then I need to show the times 2 multiplier. Again, this is what I will be checking for. Are you showing me the multiplier involved in here? That's the math behind it. This is the important part. So we end up with 16 over 6 as an equivalent fraction. So here, again, 6 divided by 3, we have the same multiplier, times 2. So this must be a times 2, and we get 4 here. Okay, so you can pause the video. I want you to do this on your own. Okay, I want you to show, again, it's important that you show me the multipliers involved in here and complete the rest of these examples. Okay, and then you can play the video again, and then you can see the rest of the check your answers.